How would you feel knowing a multi-billion-dollar industry depends on sacrificing your son's body, brain, and future health, all to ensure they've got a never-ending supply of cash cows? Harsh? Maybe. Unfounded conspiracy? I'm not so sure. And don't get it twisted, I'm not one of those people trashing the game that's never played and thinks the game shouldn't exist. I've been a fan since I was like 5 or 6 and started playing from 7 till I was 17. And I'd be lying if I said I still don't get excited watching it, especially now that the Patriots' future is starting to look bright again. Shout out Drake May. I'm sorry. I could go on for hours about that, but that's not what this video is about. And it doesn't change what I started noticing once I was on the other side. Once I started coaching those 7 and 8 year olds. Loving football is one thing. Trusting a factory that trades kids' health for profit and calls it the love of the game, that's another altogether. And that's the conflict at the center of this video, because I'm not an outsider trying to stand on some moral high ground about violence. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like football never gave me anything. It gave me a lot. It gave me discipline, memories, and some of the most intense highs I've ever felt in my life. But the older I get, the more I think football asks kids to absorb risks they're way too young to actually understand. And it asks them to do it for a factory that will move on without them the second they stop being useful to it. For me, this change started after my first year of coaching youth football. And there was this one kid, we can call him Mini Parse. So it was Mini Parse's first year of playing. He was still trying to figure out what it even meant to be out there. And he was one of the smaller kids on the team, so
I don't like where this is going.
Well, on the day in question, our head coach gave him his first carry in a live offense versus defense practice scenario. You could tell Mini Parse didn't really understand how fast everything was about to happen. He was only given a half-hearted jog, not really exploding. And before he could do much of anything, he gets speared by the starting running back coming full force. And this kid hitting him was way more developed. He was bigger, stronger, faster, and he knew how to actually deliver a hit. And more likely than not, he was being driven by a competitive desire to protect his position. And he folded Mini Parse like a pretzel before he got anywhere near the line of scrimmage, giving me a front row seat to watch Mini Parse's head bounce off the dirt, giving him the first of presumably many concussions if he decides to stay in the sport.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
So yeah, that image has stuck with me, because he wasn't a star getting paid millions of dollars by college or the NFL. He was a little kid trying to play his first year of football, getting folded up in a practice as if the game had already decided what it thought of him.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you something.
We don't care.
He wasn't the only one I saw get his head rattled while I was coaching, and most certainly wasn't the only one during my own playing days. I'm in my mid-20s. I'm not 60 years old talking about leather helmets, despite my thumbnail. And even in my generation, people were shamed for not overcoming injuries. Sometimes it was direct. Sometimes people questioned whether you were really hurt. And other times it was just a look you'd get when you stayed down too long. And because of that mindset, kids were powering through things they had absolutely no business powering through. Like getting your bell rung, seeing scars, torn muscles, and broken bones. Even in the 2000s, coaches treated that stuff like it was no big deal. And things have gotten better, sure. Protocols are stricter and awareness is better now. But I don't buy for 1 second that the culture inside of the teams has changed as much as the league wants to pretend it has. Because for every regulation we add, there's a kid that thinks football is his ticket out. A kid that thinks coming off the field means someone else is going to take his spot. Or a kid that thinks that pushing through the pain is what's going to set him apart. That mindset is baked into the sport. One study even found that about 55% of high school athletes underreport concussions, and many of them describe the event as just getting their bell rung. That language matters because it treats a brain injury as something casual, as something you can just shake off. And even guys who are supposed to be protecting the shield like Julian Edelman and Danny Amendola have openly talked about how on punt returns, if one of them got banged up, the other would just rush over and feed him answers to the questions that medical staff was about to ask. Amendola literally said we were trying to beat the system.
Knocked out, then the other one would come peel us off the ground, pick them up, and I'll say, grab your knee, trying to beat the system.
It's November 3rd. It's about 2:00. We're down by 7. They'd bring in the independent doctor. Hey, it's fucking 2:00. We're down by 7. It's about 2:30. Get out of here.
Yeah. Proactivity. Yeah.
Proactivity.
Oh my God.
And that's in the NFL with real doctors and all of the protocol in the world. So if millionaires are still trying to game the system, do you really think kids with dreams of making it there aren't going to be doing the same? That they're going to choose to protect their future brains over their present ambitions every time? Come on now. They're going to do what football has taught us. Get up, walk it off, and play, which is exactly what causes the biggest issue. It's not just getting your bell rung once, it's the stacking. CDC says the concern with football is repeated head impacts, including ones that don't cause obvious symptoms in the moment. According to the research, there is no strong evidence that one concussion by itself automatically causes CTE. The concern is cumulative exposure. In football, it's built on cumulative exposure.
The Russian, here's the hit. Oh no, 12 years.
In one high school football study, researchers tracked 95 players across 4 seasons, and they recorded 101,994 head impacts. The average player took 652 impacts to the head in a 14-week season, while that number rose all the way up to 868 for linemen. That's why this conversation can't just be about the knockout hit everybody remembers. The damage researchers are worried about is often repetitive and normalized. Really think about what football boils down to for a second. Run full speed at another human over and over again every day. People compare football collisions to car crashes for a reason, yet we treat it like this completely normal rite of passage. Kids can't drive, they can't drink, they can't smoke or gamble. Kids can't do all kinds of things because adults understand they are not developed enough to fully understand long-term risk. But you know what they can do? They can suit up in as early as elementary school to start taking repeated hits to the head. And if we're being completely unbiased, football is a lot more dangerous than a lot of the activities we already protect kids from in every other aspect of life. So the question is, why do we allow this? I don't think it's a coincidence that the NFL was founded in 1920, and around that same period of time, high school football started spreading across the country as a major part of community identity. By the 1930s, even 6- and 8-man versions of the game helped ensure smaller schools could still field teams, further embedding football into American culture. Because football was no longer just a game, it was a pipeline. The NFL sits atop of a pyramid that needs a steady supply of talent, and its scale is enormous. Based on the Packers' public books, each team received $432.6 million in shared revenue in the 2025 fiscal year, which implies $13.8 billion in national revenue across all 32 teams before local revenue is even accounted for. So no, Pee Wee football itself is not the money printer, but all levels are connected. They're part of the same system that needs kids entering young so it can identify talent young to develop their bodies as early as possible, because the next generation has to be sharp enough that by the time they enter college or the pros, the product is already halfway built. And once you start reading the studies on what follows players after the game, it gets dark quickly. The famous 2017 JAMA brain bank study looked at 202 former deceased football players' brains who had been donated, and it found CTE in 177 of them. It was in 3 of the 14 former high school football players, 48 of the 53 former college players, and 110 out of the 111 former NFL players. It showed that among donated brains, CTE appeared in alarming rates, and the severity generally rose with level of play. And the changes aren't just limited to memory loss and old age. Families of people later diagnosed with CTE have reported problems with thinking, mood, emotions, suicidal thoughts and behavior, and just problems with daily functioning. And in the brain bank study, CTE cases were often associated with cognitive struggles and dementia. It isn't about getting hurt anymore. It's about what kind of person you might have to become after enough damage. And the part that people overlook because it's less dramatic than some huge public crash out is how much of the damage is quiet. Depression, anxiety, irritability, impulsive issues, cognitive decline, and just feeling less like yourself. A study in former NFL players found that cognitive deficits and depression were more common than they were in matched controls. The problems were linked to white matter abnormalities and changes in blood flow to the brain. You don't leave the game leaves you. One day football's gone and you get to find out what it left behind, and no one is exempt. The factory doesn't truly care about its elites either. It only uses them for as long as it makes sense. All you have to do is look at what's said about players that visually unravel. The most blatantly obvious case is Antonio Brown. Publicly, people like to laugh at him, meme him, or reduce the whole thing to just him being crazy. And maybe some people do throw around CTE, but usually it's as a joke with him being the butt of it, while other people try to outright deny any connection to head trauma at all.
How? Hold on, bro. How?
But football is a sport built on repeated head trauma. And when someone comes out the other side acting erratically, the easiest thing for the public to do is to pile on him instead of asking what the sport may have taken from him. And when the game treats even the stars like that, imagine how it treats everyone further down the ladder. The backups, the washouts, the kids who will never even sniff a scholarship, or the guys whose bodies and minds are paying the price before anyone learned their name. Those are the people I can't stop thinking about, because this is the fate of everyone who enters the factory. It lures you in with the love of the game, the promise of legacy, money, or status, and the idea that if you push through enough, endure enough, and sacrifice enough, you'll be the one that it all paid off for. And for a tiny few, the reward is worth it. But for most, it just chews them up and spits them back out. Not all at once, not always dramatically, sometimes slowly and invisibly, with a limp or a bad back, or with a newfound case of depression and anxiety. Regardless, the factory's gonna keep making money. Okay, since I do believe that ranting without offering any type of solution is pointless, I'll throw one out there that the younger me would have absolutely hated. I think there is a strong case for flag football up until high school. I mean, most kids are just learning the fundamentals up until that point anyways. Footwork, vision, catching, discipline, leverage, route concepts, pursuit angles, and teamwork. The counter argument is obvious. Blocking and tackling will be worse later on if kids don't develop those skills early. And I'm not going to try to argue that there's no truth to that some players wouldn't take an extra year or two to develop now that full contact starts. But can you honestly say that's not a good trade? If it meant fewer grown adults walking around with lifelong injuries, cognitive issues, and mental health struggles that started from playing a game as a child. And because I can't help myself, I would like to offer a little bit of a pushback. I really don't know if the game's quality would significantly drop given these changes, considering a lot of the pro players right now didn't even start playing until they were in high school as is. So as hypocritical and confused as I sound, I still love football. I love watching, teaching, and playing it. I love what it can be. But loving football does not require turning a blind eye to the talent factory it has become. Also, it can find the next kid willing to play hurt, the next future cash cow, knowing full well that the vast majority of people supplying the factory are never going to get the glory, they're never going to sniff the money, and they're never going to get back what the game took from them. And once you really see it for the factory that it is, the question stops being whether football is fun or not, and it becomes, why are we so comfortable with letting kids pay the entry fee? And this doesn't even stop with football. We keep normalizing systems that take from the next generation while calling it progress. These same kids are growing up in a world where even ownership will be a nostalgic idea. Check out You Bought It, You Don't Own It here to dive all the way into it. And while I still got you here, make sure to like, subscribe, and do that whole thing. Until next time.